Hey friends, in today's video I am going to be doing the BookTube Newbie Tag. I've been on BookTube for a little under 2 months now, so I thought this was the perfect time to kind of slide this video in here. Let's get on into the video. First question is, why did you start this channel? So I originally started this channel because I wanted to document my journey reading. I recently got back into reading after not really having read anything like for the past 10 years. Like, I've been a very sporadic reader, and it's only been this past almost a year now that I've really been consistently reading. So I wanted to kind of document that and basically talk about my favorite books, because talking about books I find makes me quite happy, and reading in general makes me happy. So that's kind of why I started this channel. I also wanted to have a break from talking about my illness so much. I do have another YouTube channel, I'll link it below if you're interested, where I basically just sit and I talk about my life with chronic illness, chronic pain, Lyme disease. So I just needed a break from that. It's exhausting talking about your illness all the time, and I just needed something to focus on that wasn't about my illness. It's just purely about something that I was interested in and really loved doing. Number 2, what are some fun and unique things that you can bring to BookTube? I think in terms of like my reading taste, I'm kind of unique in that I like reading about history. I haven't seen too many people talk about like nonfiction history books like archaeology or World War I or II, or like ancient history or anything like that. So I think that's a bit more unique. I love I love reading about history and archaeology, so I think that's a bit different. I just haven't seen too many people talking about that genre, so I guess that's kind of interesting and unique. I don't know if it's fun. I guess it depends. A lot of people get really bored when reading nonfiction books and history, but it gives me an absolute joy. I guess I'm weird like that. But I also think I have the unique perspective of being someone who is disabled and chronically ill. So if I happen to read a book like, you know, The Fault in Our Stars, then I can kind of pick out ableism and, you know, kind of see what actually is kind of true to the experience of having a chronic illness or being disabled. So I think that's kind of something that I bring to my channel that's a bit different. Number 3, what are you most excited about for this new channel? I am most excited about just talking about books and making new friends. I don't have many friends in real life. I actually don't have any, which is kind of sad, but like that comes with being sick. And yeah, I'm just kind of here to talk about books, make friends, and just do something that makes me feel happy that isn't all about my illness. So I feel like this is like so refreshing for me to do, because I feel like, you know, talking about my illness, like I said, it's exhausting, and you just kind of get in a rut where you're always talking about your illness and thinking about your illness, and sometimes you just need a break from that. I was getting so annoyed with talking about my illness all the time, so I needed something that wasn't focused on my illness, because so much of my life is focused on that. So I just needed a break. I needed some space from that. Number 4, why do you love reading? I love learning, and the best way to do that is through reading. So I love to read to learn. I also love to read to kind of escape life for a moment. Like when you read a good story, you escape and you get really into it. And I love that about reading. You just get so absorbed, and you gotta know what happened next. So I love that about reading. I also love reading about different experiences and different perspectives that I may not have, you know, been educated on, or like really have that point of view. So I love that about reading as well. Number 5, what book or series got you into reading? I think this time around it has really been Anne of Green Gables. I started reading the first Anne book back in May of 2018. But before that, I was actually rereading a series that I have read quite a few times. It's the Sacred Breath series by Nadia Skriva. I don't really know how to pronounce her last name. But that's a series that I read quite a bit when I was probably like around 17, 18. So I reread those back in January, February of last year. And then it was in May when I started reading Anne of Gables. And then it was August when I really started to do a lot of reading. Like, my reading has always been very sporadic. I would read here and there, but never consistently have a book that I'm reading, you know, one after the other. So that's just a long-winded answer, but I guess it's really been the Sacred Breath series and Anne of Gables that got me back into reading this time around. Number 6, what question would you ask your favorite booktubers? Maybe how you get your videos across better, because I find I'm having a bit of a hard time connecting with other people and making friends and getting people to see my video. I mean, I've only been at this for 2 months so far, so I mean, obviously with time more people are going to see my videos, but I know it's hard, it's stupid to compare yourself to other people, but I see other channels who have been making videos around the same time as me, or they have the same number of videos on their channel that I do, and they somehow have, you know, more subscribers to get more views. I'm just trying. How? That's what I want to know. I don't know if I'm using the right tags to get my videos across, or if I need more Instagram and Twitter followers to get those videos out, or just be more active on BookTube in general, which, I mean, how do you stay so active on social media and BookTube while also trying to get reading done? I feel like social media is such a huge distraction for me when I'm trying to read. So I try not to go on social media too much while I'm reading, because then I will just end up procrastinating reading so bad. Number 7, what challenges do you think starting a BookTube channel will be the hardest to overcome? For this, I would say that my reading 100% depends on my health. So basically, if I'm feeling too crappy to pick up a book, or I have a moment where I have too much brain fog, either from being in pain or just trying new treatments, then that can make it very hard for me to read. It's also the physically getting up and sitting up and having the energy to make a video and having those videos at a quality which I think would be acceptable to put out. So my channel is very much just, you know, holding on by my health, which I don't have much health. So yeah, the hardest about this will be staying consistent with reading and also staying consistent with making videos. Those will be the 2 hardest things, especially because I haven't been a very consistent reader for a long time. Number 8, when did you start reading? So I've always read when I was younger, like always. Even then, I was a non-fiction nerd. I had so many books about sharks, and I had so many books about animals, and yeah, I just constantly read about that. And then when I was in grade 7, grade 8, that's when I started to get into YA a little bit. That was when Twilight was big, and I was like, I'm not reading Twilight, that sounds stupid, and I've still held to that. No offense to anyone who loves Twilight. I just kind of read these here scholastic books in school. They were on this here shelf in the library, and everybody else was reading them, so I read those. And then I remember the last book that I read before becoming sick from the library in school was a book by Beth Gooby. She has the weirdest last name. But it was like a lightning something. I'll put the photo of the book cover here. But I remember reading that when I was getting sick, and I think I was sick for 2 weeks while I was reading that book. I didn't finish it, I don't think. And I remember taking it to the hospital with me when I was going to get my blood drawn. So yeah, that was that's kind of where my reading ended for a very long time, until I was probably around 16 or 17 when I started to pick up reading again, because I really struggled with my cognitive just concentrating while reading. It's almost like if you have dyslexia, you kind of know, like I couldn't take in information, I couldn't remember anything. Reading was very difficult. So it took me a long time to get to the point where I could confidently say that I could read a lot better than I used to be able to. And number 9, where do you read? I read in bed all the time. I don't read in any other part of my house except for my bedroom, because if I were to say take a book and go and read in the living room, more times than often there's just too much noise and I can't concentrate. So I need to be in my room where it's quiet, where no one's talking to me, and I can get some reading done. Number 10, what kind of books do you like to read? So I love murder mysteries to death. And I also love thrillers. Oh my god, yes, I love thrillers. I also, like, in that genre, I love like detective kind of thrillers or murder mysteries, and I am okay with psychological thrillers. Sometimes they go a little nuts, and sometimes, like, they're hit and miss with psychological thrillers for me, but I definitely tend to lean towards more detective kind of murder mysteries. Those are my favorite. And for historical fiction, I love historical fiction. That's definitely a genre that I read a lot. So for that, I really love reading about World War II. I think that's probably like the most written historical fiction. Like, it's what's popular. But I also love reading about like ancient civilizations, like ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, Rome, that kind of thing. Like, I love historical fiction that's set in that time. I also love classics. There's quite a classic that I've read that I really love, Anne of Green Gables being the one that's up there. Like, that's like my favorite book series, so I'm really interested in reading classics. I haven't read a whole lot yet, but the ones that I've read, I've really liked. And also nonfiction. Like, I read a lot of history books. Like, it's mostly archaeology and Egyptology. I read those constantly, and I love Egyptology, so yeah. I also read some YA. I mean, YA is a pretty huge genre. Typically, I wouldn't lean towards YA just like on my own. But with other people's recommendations, like if there's a hyped book that I feel like sounds interesting, like it has like a murder in it, or if it's like a historical fiction YA, then, you know, I'm all for it. I'll read it. But yeah, I also really do quite enjoy dystopians. I know that's like falling out of popularity a bit, but most of the dystopian stories that I've read, I kind of enjoyed. I also like literary fiction and stuff like that too. That's like a hit and miss for me sometimes. Sometimes that can be a good genre to read, then other times, I mean, it's a wide genre, so yeah. But I will definitely read books from that genre, and I think that's pretty much it. I know that fantasy is a huge genre on BookTube, and I have to say I'm not a huge fantasy fan. I don't like magic books, I don't like witchcraft, don't like vampires or anything like that. Like, it's not my thing. The only fantasy books I will read has something to do with mermaids. I love mermaids, and I love pirates. I mean, pirates can be like sort of historical fiction, sort of fantasy, so it's like iffy, but I love mermaids. So if there's a mermaid in it, I will read it. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new. Please be sure to check me out on social media. My Instagram, my Goodreads, and my Twitter will be in the link below. And I hope to see you guys next time. Bye!